Hello, I'm Darren Jackal. I'm in my studio. I talk about product development, design, and mountaineering. Welcome to another episode of Experimental Design, Discourse, and Disclosure. Last few episodes I've been talking about my three-person winter shelter called From the Road. In today's episode I'm just going to wrap up my discussion on this particular topic and talk a little bit about the specifics of the product itself. When I first started out on this particular idea, I wanted to have a three-person tent shelter system that encompassed all of the communal gear for camping, so a shelter and a cook system, etc. And I wanted it to weigh less than about 2 kilograms per person, or about 6 kilograms in total. In Imperial, I was shooting for something around 5 pounds each or less, and about 15 pounds total. So, in terms of final weight at this stage, for the boiler only, it is weighing less than 6 kilograms total. I think I can get that weight down a little bit more, and it weighs just a little bit more than 6 kilograms when you add the components that are necessary for the wood stove. Not too bad, but in every iteration the idea is to bring that weight down and to also improve comfort, convenience, and other design features. The first tent I tested was this original version that you can see has a aluminum plate and some protective heat resistant fabric to protect the top of the tent itself. I've sewn a piece of webbing on here and used some metal wire to attach it to. I was not understanding how hot things were going to be using the boiler, and what I discovered was that because the heat is being absorbed by the snow or water in the pot, not a lot of that heat actually makes it up to the apex. This tent had a bunch of different issues with its geometry, its size, a whole bunch of things. So I made another one, and again I used the plate, and I used webbing and some heavy-duty thread, and this held up quite well. No problems when I was using the boiler, but as soon as I put a wood fire in the box, it got very hot up there, and at that point I realized I was going to need to contend with both initial high heat and potential for melting the top of the tent, as well as the heat cycling that's going to happen every time you use it. I became very aware right then and there that I was going to need to deal with this, and so you can see at the top of here I have an aluminum plate, and this aluminum plate would go over and they would sit together on each other, and that would transfer heat from the chimney into the plate and also into these guys, and then it would start to drift and get to the thread. And I was quite concerned with, over time, that thread being compromised from the heat cycling. So I needed to start to figure out different ways to manage this. Some of the things I was doing was trying to isolate or insulate the two plates. So I started making things like this silicone gasket that would go between them, and then the plate itself would be slightly larger, so when it fit on top, this is the plate that's sewn into the tent, it would not be up against the hot shim stock. So I was hoping to bridge that. But still, poles themselves got quite hot, and then that would allow heat to transfer out to the thread again. So I then moved on to changing out the top plate for a plate that is made out of phenolic. Now, phenolic is a composite material, and what it's good for is that it does not conduct heat, but is very heat resistant. So with this on top and this combined with the new top plate did better, but still I was getting, because of the amount of heat up in here, I was still getting some heat being pulled into the threads right here. And so I wanted to clean this up, and I decided at that point that I would try to build a stove jack into the apex that was made out of this silicone material and high heat silicone. This is the mold I made for producing the top piece. It's made up of a series of fabric pieces, the silicone fabric, just a simple round piece that's underneath, and then a piece like this in the tent version I have now. And then this is a different version that uses a different style of fabric pattern and cut. What that resulted in was this. So this is silicone. There's no plate in it anymore. It's got 3 layers of the fabric, and it's sewn directly into the tent. So you can see on the underside, it's got quite a big gasket that basically interrupts the heat cycling. And now the threads are also covered by the high heat silicone. So that goes on. And what I've found is that this is quite capable of managing that heat cycling so far, and that it is robust. It's very strong. I don't think it'll ever fail in the pressures from staking it out and the wind and whatnot. So this is where I'm at on this. I'll probably just work on cleaning it up and making it look more decent. Other than that, that's kind of going to wrap up the tent or the 3-person shelter. There's a lot of things that I could talk about, like the snow chute and the anchor systems and a whole bunch of other things, but I'm getting kind of tired of this topic and I would like to move on to something else. So this is going to wrap up my discussion on the 3-person winter shelter from the road. Again, remember, it's for 3 people, glacier travel, camping up high on snow in the winter conditions. You would not want to use this tent for anything else but those very specific needs. Not a backpacking tent, not for camping in the desert or something like that. So to finish up, I just want to take a look at how it all breaks down. It essentially makes itself into these 4 units here. This is the main boiler and wood stove components. It has all the pieces in it to construct the center pole section with the chimney and the boiler and the wood stove. This is the canopy. It has the stove jack on top. It's got all the guy outs and everything else you need in it. And then there's this package, which will have the fuel bottle. It's got the shim stock for the stack. It's got the little extender poles, which I'm hoping this will become redundant when I get my pole situation finalized. I've got a pair of leather gloves in here, and these are anchor bags. You fill them with snow and you bury them. These are very light. I also have some snow stakes in here, and I've got some other stakes in here. This is the pole bag. You can see that these are very large poles, long poles. I'm hoping to reconfigure this and have the pole bag be reduced by quite a bit. And as it stands, all total for all this stuff, we're looking at 6 kilograms, 115 grams, or 13.48 pounds. So again, not as light as you would like, nothing ever is, but not too bad for all this stuff divided by 3 people. So that's it. I'm Darren Jackal. I'm in my studio. I talk about product development, design, and mountaineering. Thanks again for stopping by. This is Experimental Design, Discourse, and Disclosure. We'll see you again next time.